want for me, but I just get what I want.
Well, I tell you what, Max, yeah?
Maximus, whatever you want to
No,
call me.
go on, introduce yourself to the camera there. There's one there.
So, I am Maximus Lally. I'm a 21-year-old professional MMA fighter who has aspirations to become a UFC champion.
Yeah, what's that aspirations? It's gonna happen, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah,
That's the plan
So
anyway.
100%. We brought Max on today. He said to come on. He's fighting 11 weeks out.
11 weeks
Such and
out,
such.
yeah. So I'm fighting on the 27th of September in Cage Warriors Dublin in the RDS.
Yeah.
So
happy days.
yeah, training really hard. I've been preparing for that now since me last fight. So hopefully these 11 weeks come in quick, you know.
Yeah, nice one. If anyone wants to buy tickets for you to support you, where are you gonna get
No,
them?
100%. I'll have a link in my bio on my Instagram, Maximus Lally. You can click in there. Us fighters, you know, we don't get paid too well, so I get a small commission off every ticket bought off that link. So
I'll whack it in the link tree
Yeah.
and myself as well, so
Perfect,
people
brother.
can jump
Legend,
to.
bro,
Yeah,
legend.
100%.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
A1.
Oh,
That's the way it
A1.
is.
Nice one, bro.
But yeah, thanks for taking your time out to come down today.
Of course,
Do you know
bro.
what I mean? So I asked you earlier on. You don't really, obviously, you're trying to get yourself out there. You want to
100%.
get known, well, a little bit more known.
Yeah, well, just maybe, I wouldn't even say be more known, but maybe give people a bit more of an insight into who I am as a person. Because, you know, yourself, it's like,
No one knows.
I
the
have,
inside.
exactly, you know,
Mm.
and it's like, a lot of people, it's like, on the outside, you know, I'm a fighter, but I'm not just a fighter. I'm Max Lally as well. Like,
You're a
you know what I mean?
person.
I'm a person as well. So
Mhm.
let's give an insight to who I am as a person and why I do what I do, you know?
Yeah, that's nice. That's not a bad show.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, Max, where did you grow up?
So I grew up very fortunate to grow up in Ashbourne in Meath. My mum and dad moved out there. My dad's originally from Raheny in Bettyglen,
Okay,
and my mum is from Clonshock in Coolock.
nice.
So they moved out to Ashbourne, I want to say maybe a year after I was born, maybe 2004.
There's a Go Gym down there, isn't there?
There is a Go Gym down there.
I used to PT Go Gym in Greystone.
Ah, savage,
Yeah,
yeah,
so-
savage, yeah. Ah, that's sick, bro, yeah.
it's gas.
There is a Go Gym down
Mm.
there, yeah. But that's actually only after going in the past few years.
Mm-hmm.
But like when I kind of moved out to Ashbourne when I was younger, there was like very kind of little there, if that makes sense. There was probably the little town and stuff like that. Great place to grow up.
What age did you move out at?
I would have been maybe 1 or 2. So I would have spent all me kind of me teenage years, kid years, all growing up in Ashbourne. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Really, really working class area. Great people out there, you know.
Nice.
And yeah, no, I have a dad who looks after me. I look up to, you know, and
100%.
my mum as well. They both look after me very well, you know. And then I also have my little brother Christian as well. So we all would have grown up, all would have been in Ashbourne for I say we're living out there now close to 20 years. So I'm 21. We moved out there when I was 1. So yeah, about 20 years. An absolute like great place. So I love
It's
you know,
peaceful.
really, really, really. It's a peaceful place. Obviously, it's kind of livened up a little bit now with the kind of antisocial behaviour a little bit.
Right.
But like when I was younger, it was just kind of like a load of young fellas looking for something to do. Never would have been doing that too crazy. Like not the likes of somewhere else. You know, it was very kind of a chilled out and placid area to grow up. You know, but like that, you know, wouldn't want to have been raised anywhere else, you know.
Okay, cool. So, you said you're a fighter, but that's not what you're about.
Yeah.
Let's tell us about your hobbies and interests. What do you like at the moment?
So-
do you play Call of Duty?
I'm big. I was always big in on computer games and PlayStation
All
and
right,
stuff
this
like
fa-
that.
okay,
bro. Like,
okay.
I'd be like a serious fanatic on them. Like how I am as a person, I have an extremely addictive personality.
Oh,
So
here's your brother right here.
yeah, so it's like
You got ADHD, undiagnosed kind of job. Just,
I see. I don't like saying that I'm undiagnosed, right? Because
It's a superpower, though.
It really,
it is.
it is. It really is. But I would definitely 110% say I am on the spectrum in some way or the other.
Yeah.
Because like in school, especially in school, you know, I left school when I was 17. I left the first week into 6th year.
Okay.
Always made an attempt in school, but quickly started to realise that anything that I had interest in, I would just excel at and expend excessive amounts of time doing. Whether when I was in school, I would have had a serious interest in history, geography, and art.
Right.
And bar that, nothing else really in school resonated with me. I did used to like a game of football, maybe in PE or stuff like that, but like they used to try to get us playing badminton and all that, and I'd just be like faking notes, being like, yeah, Max injured
Legs
himself in
killing me.
training, you know what I mean?
Okay.
I just go off and kind of do my own thing on that part. But really early on, you know, kind of would have just found out that I have an extremely addictive personality. Really kind of when I was 19, I came to terms with this, that it's like, okay, like when you like something, it's like it's not going to be something that you might dip your toe in and out of. It's going to be like you're just going to dive head first into it, like, you know. So that applies to a lot of things I do. It applies to, you know, computer games. I've played The Last of Us, both games. I've played Red Dead. Cried there in May just gone when I found out that GTA 6 was being delayed to next year. Man.
No way.
I was sick.
Again, man, for you paid to buy another console for that now.
I know, that's what I mean. It'd be the PS6. Sure, like, they had the held back. It was impossible to get a PS5 there when it came out. You know what I mean?
I actually got one during
you?
COVID.
Yeah.
One of my clients had a discount code or a code
Yeah.
in Argos and Wexford. I had to drive to Wexford. Yeah.
I drove forward.
I was
to get one back
going to get it,
then.
yeah.
Yeah, I would have drove
But
further.
It's fun. It's not funny. Sorry. It's kind of like pretty cool that you said that.
Yeah.
That you said like, yeah. So you said you underdiagnosed, right? So my
Yeah.
sister is a social care worker,
Yeah.
and she used me as a case study.
Yeah.
So I scored 90% on an ADHD test, right?
Oh, wow,
Which she'd
yeah.
used, but I've never been like obviously diagnosed. But I
Yeah.
don't want to be taking that medication to numb you down or anything.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
100%.
I'd be exactly like that, all in or nothing.
Yeah.
But sometimes I don't think about the consequences.
Yeah, no, and
know?
I'm the exact same. It's like I use the PlayStation as like a simple
Outlet.
outlet, right?
Mm.
Where it's like I will be sitting down. Like I remember I was over in Thailand with my missus now. When I was over in Thailand, I'd be doing 2-3 sessions a day, training super hard. And then obviously after training hard all week, like we'd go out to the beach for a little bit or whatever like that. But like I brought my PlayStation over with me because I know that there's not going to be much else to be at, you know, during the evenings. And I just remember like she just...
You don't
like,
drink or anything then?
No, I don't drink. I think the last time I would have drank was, I think, my 6-year holiday, which was,
Fuck, okay.
yeah, about 4 years ago. Would have been the last time I drank. But
You can't really put one and one together though to be able to do what you want to do.
You know what I mean? But even at that, it's like, I know if I was to find some sort of enjoyment out of it, I would like drink nonstop.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So that's
It relates.
that's like, for being the way I kind of am programmed, that's like the cons of it. So obviously I've learned what outlets to kind of dip into. Whether I know if I was to dip into an outlet that, you know,
It's
negative and I liked it,
Be the best at it.
it'd be the best at it. You know what I mean? So it's like,
Mm.
there's so many outlets that like I just have to try avoid because I know myself. Obviously people experiment and stuff like that, but I know if I was to experiment with something that I like, it wouldn't be a gradual kind of thing.
Yeah,
you
do you know what? I can speak from experience on that point
Yeah.
too. Like, you know what I mean? It's not worth it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, see, we grow up and like you said about social media earlier on, people will, you put yourself on a pedestal,
Yeah.
people are slapping you out. If
Yeah.
you go, and I remember when I was working in a bar and I stopped drinking and I was boxing, like, and I was like training in the morning, in the evening, I was doing about 8 sessions maybe,
Yeah.
and that's only amateur.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like usually it's 2,
Yeah.
maybe a week or
Yeah.
3 a week.
Yeah.
And I was getting in the morning, doing my runs, clocking my runs in. I stopped drinking after work and all. And the lads were like, "What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Why aren't you drinking? Don't
Yeah.
be weird." I'm like,
Yeah.
"What? I'll have a
No.
Lucasade or something." It's like, but they're trying to push it onto you.
Yeah, no.
know?
Some influences are like that. I'm very fortunate with my friends that they understand what I do, you know what I mean? And like a lot of them as well, like I have a few, like I wouldn't have a huge group of friends. I'd have 3 or 4
Close
really
circle.
close circle, super close circle. And them guys are really good because it's like I'm the type where I have absolutely no interest in like going to a pub or going to a party or that just wouldn't be my scene. And I've always kind of been like that in a way, you know, like house parties and stuff like that. They're just not really. I find that it's like I'm trying to fit into a place that I just don't really fit in. If that makes sense.
What's the point trying to fit in when you can stand out,
Exactly.
man? Do you know what I mean? You don't have to be
so
that.
These are kind of things that like I would have figured out from a fairly young age, like, you know what I mean? Where it was like I would have kind of distinguished where I flourish in certain people's company and where I don't really I wouldn't really flourish in the same way. And I always found that them kind of
Like-
social gatherings with maybe like with drugs or alcohol and stuff like that, I wouldn't be able to flourish and just be myself. I was always very like reserved or quiet, and you know what I mean? So I just kind of
And then you listen to the same conversations after the hour.
exactly.
And it's just like, oh.
Definitely, but like with my friends, I'm very fortunate with them that it's like, it's not just what they do. It's like, here, do you want to go for a sauna, a swim? Do you want to go out, get a bite to eat? Do you want to, you know what I mean? So it's like, with like my friends, they might go out and like a lot of them drink, and some of them like they might smoke a bit of weed or whatever like that. But it's like, whenever they're like around me, it's like, no, we'll go out and do, what do you want to do, Max? Or what, you know what I mean? So it's
Okay.
like,
They respect you as
they
a person.
respect me as a person, and I think that's what true friends really do. Like, you know what I mean? Where it's like, I think a proper friend will really just like, you know, like I wouldn't want to say, but like, let's say for someone who is kind of struggling with the head or whatever like that, they won't be like, oh, here, just come with us to the pub and sit down and like kind of, here, have a drink, dude. They'll do something that's good for them, like, you know what I mean? Like
They're not going to amplify the problem.
Exactly.
Yeah,
You know what I
But you
mean?
think at the time, it's actually, this is helping.
Yeah.
First 2-3 weeks, and then you see people just slowly dip.
Yeah, where there's like with like a lot, like with like the three friends that I have, I find especially they're kind of like to myself, they're like, listen, like, we know that, you know, the pub isn't really your scene. Let's go do this or let's go do that. You know what I mean? And like,
What would you do if it wasn't public? Sauna or something?
so I shout out to the sauna guys.
Yeah.
They put a sauna out in my back garden, so it might be a case midweek they'll come over after, because a lot of them work, you know. Two of my mates are apprentice sparks, and then another one of my mates works in sales. And the
Nice.
three of us will just come over to my house to the sauna. We go into the sauna, you know, talk bollocks, talk shy, and like, it's just like, you know, like, especially I always find when you're in a sauna as well, like the
conversation is more
conversation's
real.
you know what I mean? Because you're all just struggling, you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
10 minutes in, and it's like, oh, yeah.
You know,
Well,
like-
maybe actually, that's a good question.
Yeah.
How long would you do in the sauna?
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
It depends on the heat, like for like a wake up kind of scenario, or
Yeah, so let's go into a regular scenario. We'll go
Okay.
into the wake up
Yeah,
later,
yeah,
because
of
I say
course.
that's very extreme.
yeah, no. So just in a normal scenario,
the maintenance.
I'll go into the sauna at about 70, 80 degrees. I'll do a good 25 minutes, half hour, and I'll gradually probably decrease it, maybe 5 minutes at a time. I'll just
Would you
go
do
off.
a break in between it?
Yeah, I do. So I just go out and jump in the cold plunge, you know, take a few breaths, let the kind of cold air hit you, you know, even though there's not really any cold air out today, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
you know yourself, a typical Irish day,
Yeah,
you let
yeah,
the
it'd be
cold air
raining.
hit you, you know?
Yeah.
And I'll just get back in. So usually I'll do maybe about 25 minutes, and then I'll go off field then. I'll just try stay in, sweat as much as possible. But if I'm in there with me mates, I'll probably go off just what they're able to do, you know what I mean? I'll usually just bounce out when they're kind of like, all right, I'm cooked. Let's get out, you know?
I
So,
think I used to do 15 minutes and then like 2-minute cold shower, or a
Savage.
minute cold shower, and then back in for
Yeah.
another 15.
yeah.
I think that was my sweet spot.
Yeah,
You
no,
know?
15 minutes is a good time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you have to remember as well, like when you're in a sauna, it's interesting, but when you're in the sauna, your head can overheat, and that's actually not good for your head. It's not good for your brain, for your head to overheat. So it's like, usually when you're in a sauna, what happens is your heart rate goes up from you being in the heat, you know what I mean? From you being in whatever it might be, 70, 80 degrees.
Seeing that,
But-
it's like a fat burn zone down as well. It's
It-
like 120,
It
130,
is.
I think.
So
What they'd
I'm
be
not
hitting.
too sure. A sauna, I don't think is good for fat burn, but what it is good for, it's actually really good for your metabolism.
Right,
sauna.
but the heart rate's going into that
yeah,
zone. That's
Goes
what I'm
in,
getting.
it goes into
skinny.
that. It does. It
Yeah.
goes into that zone, 100%. But it's like that. It's like, I just find, like, I just get the enjoyment out of doing things that are a little bit difficult. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, I don't know, people like have, I'd obviously, I'd believe in God and stuff like that, you know.
My girlfriend's Filipino, man. We watch church every Sunday
Yeah,
morning.
savage.
Don't worry.
Savage.
Yeah.
So I'd believe in the you know, the Holy Spirit and God and stuff like that. But I kind of have another
Hold you for a
belief.
second there.
Yeah.
For anyone who wants to jump out of the woodwork, right? Everyone has an opinion what they want to believe in,
Yeah.
right? Just so you know, yeah.
100%. But
Yeah.
I'm a believer in I wouldn't. It's kind of. I'd say it's a philosophy more so than a spirit. But I just believe in life when you do hard things or you do difficult things, everything else just gradually becomes easier. You know what I mean? So
It's tolerance building
it's
too.
exactly. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So it's like whether that is through training, problem solving, like whatever.
It's where you
whatever it
spend
might
your
be.
energy, man. Like you said earlier on about the pub, if you're around negative people, you're gonna have a negative path.
Exactly.
If you're in the gym, like how many people do you know in the gym have massive egos?
Yeah. No. Definitely.
Not many in a
Yeah.
fighter's perspective.
No,
You might get that
100%.
one person, but
But I think as well as that, it's like maybe a bit less in the fighting community. But I just find like in sports in general, I think you're always just gonna have that one or two guys who might be a bit cocky or like overconfident, you know. But all in all, it's like as you said, it's like if you're around people, if you're in a circle, you know, like they're not, let's say, they're not really content. They're hungry. They want to do better at whatever they're doing, you know. That is always bound to excel you.
yeah.
Always bound
We
to
were
excel
sticking
you.
that bar and no one's going anywhere.
Exactly. You know what I
know?
mean? And that's it's like, and now listen, it's like I throw no shade at like the normal person that likes going to the pub for a few
No, yeah.
or whatever like that, you know. But
It's actually a good point here, right?
Yeah.
So what's better, right? Think of that. The person that goes to the pub every week reaches their goals that they want.
Yeah.
Every week.
Yeah.
So they have a goal and they're
Yeah.
reaching it.
Yeah.
Where yourself or whatever, myself, we have a goal, like I have a physique or a competition or
Yeah.
a fight. That takes months.
Yeah.
Maybe even years to
Yeah.
get to a certain point.
100%.
But when you get it, are you happy?
Oh man, like it's like yeah.
do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I
like
get what you mean.
when's the next one? Like
Yeah.
you're like, what? Oh
Yeah,
shit.
no,
Right, cool. Grand
hun-
bang.
yeah.
Yes, that's it. Next one.
Yeah.
That's it.
100%.
You know?
No, 100%. I always find out, see them goals that like take time, they're always worthwhile. Like, you know what I mean? The ones that take months.
Do you read or listen to audiobooks, Ranton?
Well, I listen to audiobooks.
Because I can't really read. I'm like, oh, what squirrel.
So here's another reason why I actually think I'm on the spectrum. So I've only recently kind of looked into this. So as a kid, when I used to read, I'd always misplace sentences.
Right.
So when I'd read a word like the cat was very hairy, I'd be like, the cat was hairy, whatever cat, or like I'd repeat the words. So like if it was like, let's say, or like the fish swam very fast, it'd be like the fish swam fast very. You know what I mean? Like I'd always misplace the word. So I looked into it, and apparently it is a sign of like dyslexia and stuff like that. So
That's
I actually,
just the way your brain fires
like,
things.
you
up,
know
though.
what I mean?
That's not a bad thing.
It's not at all. So I'd listen to audiobooks or like podcasts for like information more so. And then whenever like I do come across like a bit of information that, you know, intrigues me or interests me, I'll always like look into it a bit further. You know what I mean? Because I wouldn't be the type, I wouldn't believe everything that is said to me, if that makes sense. I always like doing my own little kind of look
100%,
into it. Like,
yeah.
you know what I mean?
But I have a book for you to listen to.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Savage.
So you're saying about the goals.
Yeah.
I remember years ago, man, I think I was working as a carer at the time, and this lad came in, James Deegan, shout out to James. He's actually a
Yeah.
healer now, like some sort of psychotherapist.
Ah, savage.
So he came in as a carer
Yeah.
agency.
Yeah.
But he showed me this book. Do you know these times when people just come into your life and you're like,
Yeah.
okay, it was meant to pass on something on or whatever.
Yeah.
Got me to read this book. I've read the book. It's basically multi-millionaires, like stories of all these people, Thomas Edison, Henry
Yeah.
Ford and all that.
Savage.
But what they done.
Yeah.
But there's a little script in it that gets you to write down your goals and all that.
Oh,
I wrote
class.
all my goals
Yeah.
one year, right? A few years later, I found the paper
Yeah, yeah.
and I ticked everything off except one thing.
Ah,
Do you get me?
Yeah.
So
no,
writing your goals,
savage.
but you never really truly appreciate where you come from until you get it done, and then you're like,
Yeah.
I want to just build a little bit more.
Yeah.
It's going to me in. So
Because-
going back to what you were saying about the pub or your own goals,
Yeah.
I think it's a harder sacrifice to be able to be different.
Yeah, it is, and it's like, but it's like that. It's like for anyone that feels like that, that way inclined, that they're a bit different. It's like, don't force yourself to try fit into somewhere you don't
100%.
feel like you do. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because I remember, like, when I kind of came to this realization, I don't want to say it upset me, but I was kind of a bit down over it, where it was like, all my friends are finding enjoyment out of this, but I just don't enjoy these scenarios. I just don't enjoy going out or whatever, like, I was feeling at the time. And then a few months after, I started to see the positive side to it, where it was like, well, Max, like, what you can do is you can be around individuals that you flourish around and that you can be yourself around, whether, like, though that crowd might be in the gym, it might be them 3 friends, as I mentioned. That might even be just around family. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's the most important thing, is like, I would never, no matter like what comes my way, whether it be fame, whether it be money, I'll always stay true to myself and who I am as a person. You know what I mean? That's the most
Do you think
important
that's
thing.
big in the MMA industry at the moment? Do people lose themselves?
I
Do
think
you think Paddy Plummett's losing himself at the moment, or is he staying the same?
I say he's
Stay the same?
saying the same. You know what I mean? Because in fairness, I've watched Paddy for years, and he's always kind of been that way inclined.
I'd rather be fat and happy than skinny and miserable.
You know what I mean? And but that's him. Like, in fairness to him, that's him staying true to what he likes doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, I can never fault anyone for that. I wouldn't, in the MMA community. I just think in general, like, when a bit of, it depends on the individual, obviously. But sometimes when a bit of, I don't know, traction or a bit of, you know, fame gets thrown your way, I suppose some people don't know how to maybe deal with it, if you know what I mean. And they might put on this kind of facade or whatever like that, you know. Like Kobe Covington's a great example of it, you know, where it's just like, it's like he's a split personality, you know what I mean, where people are like seeing him on camera and he goes on like this, like, American dickhead, you know.
Yeah.
And then it's like, off camera, you just see all the other fighters saying, he's not like that, that's it. You know what I mean? I think as well, when you put on a facade, I think people can just see through it straight away. People know by, like, watching you if you're genuine or not. You know what I
Let the
mean?
guard down.
You know what I mean? So it's like, if you have a guard up, people see you have a guard up. You know
So let's
what I
say
mean?
if you were going into like your face-offs or your little conferences and stuff like that.
Yeah.
What were you like? What you like when you go in? Get your opponent respectful. That's it. Bang.
Yeah,
Nothing.
well, like, I wouldn't have too much to say, because it's just like, we're going in to do the business tomorrow. You know what I mean? So it's like in
Have you ever
regards to-
got anyone that was trying to be a little bit
I remember did
pushy
anyone
or
ever
whatever?
try to- No, never
No?
have.
Nice.
Never have.
That's good.
I remember, like, one of my amateur opponents, Tiernan Loughran. I remember we went back and forward. Like, I think this was a few months before we fought. And then when it came around to the fight, it was just like, well, we're fighting each other now. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, I always just match energy with people I'm around, if that makes sense. And it's like, if they want to be all fiery and rowdy, I might match the situation. But I always find with people that need to talk, that need to build themselves up like that, they're always the most scared. You know what I mean? That's wasted energy, in my opinion. When I see someone,
Putting stress on yourself.
when I'm looking at someone at a face off and they break eye contact for a split second, you know, that's a tell, you know.
Okay.
When I'm getting my name announced in the cage, and, you know, they're like flexing and screaming and stuff like that, that's a tell. That's a nervous tell. All this is, like, in my opinion, it's nervous energy leaving the body. But I keep all my nervous energy in, and I'll just use it in the fight. You know what I mean? It's like nothing gets wasted. I wouldn't even draw a breath, a word. I wouldn't, nothing. You know what I mean? My name gets called, I just beat my chest, put my hand up, that's it. And these are all little kind of, like, I'd be, I wouldn't say, like, I'm into psychology and stuff like that, but for me, all those little things, I look for little details like that. When I walk out to the cage, I never take my eye off my opponent the whole time I walk. If I'm in the cage first, I'll look at them while they're making the walk to the cage. And if they don't make contact with me, I know I have them. You know what I mean? It's like little small things like that. It's like little wins before the fight. They're like little mental edges. You know
It's
what I
your
mean?
ritual. What they're trying to.
Exactly. And this is
It's a hunting technique or
exactly.
something.
Well, like, you know what I mean? But it's like by no means is, like, my ritual, like, perfected, you know? But with each fight, it just gets better. There's more little tells that
And would you be
discover.
nervous going in? Of course, I say.
I
Nervous, but sorry, that's a wrong. Nervous, you're not scared or nothing. What I'm saying is you'll have that, you'll be ready. It's like
Yeah.
anxious a bit, but anxious to fight.
anxious to fight.
Because I
is the
remember
perfect word.
when I done karate and was doing boxing, I used to
Yeah.
always have to go for a piss
Yeah.
before, and I was just so, my problem was I think I was very boppy. And I
Yeah.
wasted a bit of energy
Yeah.
now looking back at it. When I went boxing, I was
Yeah.
slow and I used it when I wanted it. Would
Yeah.
you ever find anything like that?
No, not really. To be honest, I'm actually me most calm when I'm warming up. And then it's like making the walk to the cage. Like I can't put it in any other words bar like it's honestly it's a feeling of belonging, if that makes sense. It just feels like
Okay.
it's like walking into my house back home. It's like it's familiar now. You know what I mean? Whether before that,
It's comfortable.
it's exactly there's comfort in it now. Whether before that, what I would have used to being like is I used to have to like work myself up into like a super hyper aggressive state of mind, if that makes sense. Where I would be like, I'd be thinking like, I'm gonna go in, I'm really gonna try hurt this fella in front of his whole team, in front of this whole crowd. And now it's almost a thing of where it's like, I know I'm capable of that, but I can be capable of that in a calm, vicious manner, if that makes sense.
Let's get this done. Not
ex-
use as much energy, but we'll make them
Exactly.
regret it in a sense.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the more kind of amateur fights I had, I went 9-0 as an amateur, and I say probably after about 6 amateur fights, I started to kind of change that kind of strategy of how I prepared for fights. And then my most recent one, I fought a good Greek guy who was 4-1. He was a good kind of he was a step up in competition to who I've recently kind of faced. And through that method, I just remember when I was walking to the cage and I had Luke Kelly, the World Rover playing,
Chill.
and just it was just like a thing of I just belong here. This is just that cage. That is my house. You know what I mean? This is where you do your best work. I'll train so hard in camp. I'll train so hard over a 10-week period where it just kind of comes to a thing where it's like almost putting it. I know people who are Muslim, they put all results and all kind of outcomes onto Allah, where it's like I put all outcomes just onto the training that I've done, where it's just like I know I've suffered so much this past 10 weeks in this training camp.
You don't even care about it.
It's like 15 minutes of fighting is going to be a walk in the park, no matter the outcome, whether it's a loss, whether it's a win. You know what I mean? So that's what I kind of put. That's what
it's different. You left your job to do this, and you're
Exactly.
training, getting up. So the hard part is literally what you've just done. That's the
Exactly.
anxious part. I'd say,
Yeah.
oh, what am I gonna do?
Yeah, exactly.
But
it's the most important thing for me when I go out to fight more than anything is to go out with a clear thought process. Because it's like, as I said, when I used to get into that super aggressive state, I wouldn't be able to really hear what my coaches were saying because I just had so much. So now it's a thing of where I am like, I'm so much more aware of what's happening.
Would your performance be better as well? Sure, if you're going in tense, you're just going to go in tense and you're going to blow out too quick.
Exactly. Where it's like now I just
pick your shots, do your thing.
Yeah, when I go in now, I just feel like, I don't want to say it does, my past few fights, it's just really clicked. You know what I mean? Where it's just like everything is just chaining off each other and working super well. And it's like, the main reason it is just because I can hear the instruction of me coach is super clear. I can hear what they're telling me to do. And it's just like...
He's the controller and you're
exactly,
like...
Exactly. And I'm hearing that. I'm
obviously, you make your own calls too when you see an
do.
opening. Yeah,
no, 100%.
Yeah,
100% I do. But it's like that. It's like that. It's that killer instinct that I don't think that can really be... trained into a fighter. I just think they either have it or they don't.
There's nothing more addictive than getting a slap and wanting it and loving it.
You know
come on.
what I mean? So it's like I just know I'm fortunate enough to I just know when to go for the kill. You know what I mean? And I know that sometimes when you go for the kill, you can't force it. You know what I mean? It'll present itself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And anytime I've been in a fight, I'll work for whatever, but I'll never rush it. It always just presents itself. And I'm all over it then,
Nice one.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
So, what kind of style are you? Like, what do you
So-
like? I don't know really much about. Like, I'm more boxing, right?
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I've kind of fell off the wagon since Jake Paul has been taking the lead. I'm not really following that shit anymore. Do you know what I mean? But
So-
what's your preferred style? If you
So
mind me asking that.
people are gonna consider me a grappler because I think I have like I fought 13 fights now. If you like 13 fights as an adult over 18, you know.
Okay, yeah.
And I think so far I've had 8 submissions out of them 13 fights, and then I've had like 2 TKOs or whatever like that. But I'm a grappler.
Do you like your
Um,
stand up though? Do you like
I
standing
do.
up?
Now,
Yeah.
here's the thing. It's like I always prided myself in this, where it's like a lot of guys, and I don't know, maybe the traditional way of MMA is everyone's a specialist in one area and they build around that speciality. I'm not a believer in that whatsoever. I think in the sport of MMA, you have to be a specialist everywhere. Everywhere.
Yeah.
And that's the way I've always approached it. It's the way I've approached it with me striking. It's how I always approached it with me grappling, my wrestling. Everything needs to be perfected. Everything needs to. Now, you're obviously never going to get near. You're always chasing perfection.
To balance
You know what I mean?
things out though. You need to be able to, because you don't know who
Exactly.
you're going against.
But the most important thing is to find comfort in all areas. That's what I always look for. So, like, really, I'd say over the past 3 years, I've really found that, like, comfort on the feet, where it's like there's no overthinking. It's just happening. Things are just landing. I'm flowing through it. It's like you're just seeing these little kind of openings, seeing these little reactions while you're sparring or while you're in the fight, you know. But in my fights, at the same time, I don't think I've really gotten to showcase what I'm capable on the feet, because whenever I just take people down, they just don't get back up.
fold.
I just submit them, you know. So that's obviously a blessing in disguise. But I know for a fact, whenever I do come across a guy who's super good at staying off the mat and is good takedown defense,
You flip it up.
that's when it'll show, you know what I mean? But it is always being worked on. All areas are always being worked on. But the traditional way of MMA years ago was you had your wrestlers, your strikers, your jiu-jitsu guys. Whether in this day and age, when I look in the UFC, no one's not good anywhere. Everyone is good everywhere.
My mate used to love Daniel Cormier. Is it?
Cormier, yeah.
He used to love him, and I like John Jones, right? And he goes, he's a scumbag, and I was, but he can't beat him.
Yeah.
He can't beat him.
But,
He's just like, you know, because he's so like reliant on one thing.
Yeah, no,
You know?
but like, in fairness, I think as like DC's career progressed, you got to see a lot more kind of, I don't know, a lot more side. You could see his hands were a lot better. You could see he had his own little way of like striking, because he's obviously really short and like chubbier than a lot of the other featherweights. He had a certain little way he used to strike. He had a great win over Stipe when he beat him for the heavyweight title and stuff like that, you know. But it's just like, it's like that. I just find like another great example of it. I think the best example of it right now is Ilia Topuria, where it's like this guy's a Greco-Roman wrestler. He's a grappling background, but you would not be able to tell in the cage because he's just knocking everyone stiff, you know. So it's like he's a legit black belt in jiu-jitsu as well. So it's just like all areas are just covered with these guys that are at the top. So it's like if you're, I don't know, like for me to aspire to get to that level, I have to do the same. You know?
Are you analysing these when you're watching fights?
Yeah, I
so
am.
would you watch and go, right, you know, what would you do in a
I
situation?
do a lot of study on tape, like of all UFC fights. So like recently I was away in Thailand. I got an opportunity to go away with Alex Volkanovski and help him prepare for his fight with Diego Lopez.
Nice.
So this was a great insight for myself to see what a UFC champion does while he's in fight camp, you know. And obviously, like, just the work rate is through the roof. But then again, it was really refreshing to see, because it's like what this guy is doing isn't so different to what I'm doing. He's just doing it a lot longer.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
He's just doing it a lot longer than I am. And it was like
a few steps further, but yours in grasp.
Exactly. So it was really, really great to experience that, you know. And then obviously I got to pick his brain on certain stuff. He had a great team around him, you know, and it was great to see him get the win against a stud in Diego Lopez, you know. I was just kind of his kind of sparring and grappling partner for the 4 or 5 weeks I was there. I was kind of there 4.5 weeks.
How intense was that?
It was good. No, it was
Did you
really
enjoy
good.
it?
Really enjoyed
Yeah.
it. Because it was great, because in fairness to him, like he was super accommodating to me as well, because I was prepping for my fight in April as well for my Cage Warriors debut. And like before I went away, I just wanted to like make him aware of this, because I didn't want to, obviously, like I wanted to go away and help him for his fight, but then it was like I need to prep for my fight as well. You know what I mean? So it's like I don't mind going over and giving you looks for Lopez and helping you in whatever way, but it's very important that I'm getting my training in also. And dude, he was so down to earth and so accommodating for that, you know, like really, really was like had the best time over there for the 5 weeks.
How intense would the spars be?
They were quite intense, but one thing I found was, especially with like someone like Volk, who's 36 now, he's a lot of miles on the clock. You know what I mean? He's a lot of miles on the clock. So he was saying how he was explaining like some of the sessions he used to do, and now it's like they spar with venom and they spar with intensity, but it's like he's not trying to knock you out, or he's not trying to finish it. You know what I mean? He just knows what shots he needs to land. He's done it that much. He's knocked that many guys out that he knows like what he needs to do, you know? So like it obviously gave me, usually like, I don't know, like any boxing club that I've been down to, it's just like, here, I'll go for your best there. Like, you know what I mean?
It's a knock.
It's a knock, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, don't get me wrong, I think it's very important to have maybe a spar or two like that, maybe like 3-4 weeks out from a fight, you know what I mean? Just to get
100%.
get that fight
That
feeling
fight
into
again.
you, you know what I mean? But like before that, it's like when you're sparring, like the way I was sparring with Volk while we were away, it was a real eye opener where it was just like, we're both getting serious work in, but we're not both leaving with headaches after. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying, because I'm a qualified S&C coach.
Yeah.
So our job is to basically make sure either any athlete is getting better but doesn't get injured.
Yeah.
So so you 3 weeks out before your fight or whatever like that. So yeah.
So it's like it was just, I think what the most important thing is, it's like when you're in fight camp, the most important thing is just getting there injury free. Now, I don't think you ever go into a fight 100%. You're always going to go in.
Up.
You're always going to go in maybe 90%, 80%, 90%, usually. You know what I mean? There's always going to be something niggling, something sore. It's dude, it's always the way. But it's just like, it's like anything, you know? It's like, if you can get there at maybe 80, 90%, you know, you just get fit. And really, fight camp for me, I spend so much time out of fight camp. Skill acquisition is the most important thing ever. I'm down in Dublin Combat Academy, you know, training with all the Muay Thai lads, trying to pick their brains in the clinch, how they kick, how they strike. I have a great boxing coach, Toig, Padman Mac, shout out to him. I'll go down to him.
He's fucking good at the pads. Yeah.
So I go down, I do a bit of boxing with him, and that's just like real kind of boxing combinations. But then it's like I'm just picking and choosing what works for me. Obviously, I'm with Owen Ruddy. And then what we do is I usually look at a lot of tape, and I'll look at combinations that UFC fighters are hitting, how they're setting them up, you know, what reactions they're getting from them combinations, and we'll work them through the pads as well. And then obviously on the grappling side, I go down to SBG Nice to wrestle all the guys there. I'll train MMA up there as well. And then I'll also go down to East Coast Jiu-Jitsu Academy and Northside Jiu-Jitsu Academy as well to train with the guys that do Jiu-Jitsu. So these guys are all, let's class them as specialists in their area.
Which you're just going
But what I'm doing is I'm just picking the pieces of what works for me, what doesn't work for me, and just adding them into my game as a whole, if that makes sense.
So is there any controversy with working with other coaches or in this game or what? Do you know what I mean? How does that work?
Yeah, so there can be, you know, there can be, but I'm just a big believer in, especially when I was over in Australia, I seen it firsthand. You had Jack Della Maddalena coming over from Perth in Australia, came over for 2 weeks to train with Volk, and that's a fairly frequent thing that they do, where they go over and they just like pick the brains of other fighters. I've been abroad so many times training with different fighters. I just think this country as a whole, it's too small to be in the one individual place. And it's like, I think in MMA, it's a game of chance, really, where it's like you can go in and fight a guy and they present a style. And if you haven't experienced that style before, it can be very difficult to adjust to it. Whether I just find the more people you train with and the more looks you get, the more familiar all these different looks become. Does that make sense?
I think some coaches are trying to hold on to their fighters so they don't leave them or something
Yeah,
like that.
no.
And I think it's holding them back. I've seen it with a
100%.
couple of lads I've done pads with and all that, and
Yeah.
the coaches were like, "Don't," and I was like, "What?"
But it's like I'd be in two minds. It's like I'm always going to represent Owen, and I'm always going to represent me wrestling coach Sergey.
And
true
that's
and true.
loyalty.
You know what I mean?
Because you have that.
These guys, these Sergey and Owen have been with me since I'm I'm a child. You know what I mean? 12, 13 years of age. These guys have been
They're your
with me.
team.
That's my team.
Yes.
And that team is going 10 years strong. You know what I mean? Especially of start. I used to train with down in DCA when I was a bit younger, but I was only grappling then. But really, I would say I start going down to Collie consistently over lockdown, over COVID. And he's been a great asset to the team the past 5 years.
Hope you wear your mask during the training sessions. I'm only messing.
Man, I remember where did we do that? We done that out in Cabra Kickboxing Club.
Oh, stop.
Yeah, and like I remember in the height of lockdown, like we were doing a session and like guards would be knocking at the door, Collie would be like, hide under the ring. And we'd just be hiding under the ring and there'd just be a guard there bleeding, walking around looking, seeing if anyone was trying.
Oh, some board reported me to the gym when I was PTing and all.
Yeah, man,
I was doing a shoulder press with someone and he was doing like 35 kgs and I was
Yeah.
like that and he's like, he's too close to him. I was like, oh, get away. What do you want me to do? Blow at his elbows, like, you know what I mean? Like,
No, but like that just goes back to it. I just find like with certain individuals, you know, they love to say you can't do something. You know what I mean? Or like just they love to like, I don't know, be there. It's like really, it's like we're not anywhere near you. We're kind of doing our own thing. It was the same thing. Like I remember the
But I thought
neighbours.
pros were allowed at train though at the time.
They were. I was trying to like. I wasn't a pro back then, but I was trying to like class myself as a professional athlete. But they said that right, and then like you'd say that to them, and the guys would just like kind of knock it off to be like, no, you still can't train or whatever like that, blah blah blah. But I never stopped training through lockdown. That's the God honest truth, and it's like
I slept in the gym during lockdown.
Yeah,
I got a pass and drove through to Greystones.
Savage, yeah.
And went through the checkpoints. And I had fucking because the first lockdown, I went through mad mental fucking shit. Checked into accounts and all that stuff. Like stopped trying to pile on the weight, man.
Yeah.
Head was fucking minted.
Yeah.
And then I just, you know what I done? Like you.
Yeah.
I got my PlayStation and my Xbox, man, and the monitor, and I slept in the sunbed room, man, and done that. And I actually trained 3 times a day, 4 days on, 3 days off. So I cook all my food for 4 days, bang, bang, back to the gaff then.
Savage.
Do you know what I mean? Like it was grand.
Like, a lot of people fell into that category, you know, like I don't think lockdown especially, like I think it taught me a lot about myself.
I think it was a nice opener.
Yeah.
Did you go through much during lockdown yourself?
I wouldn't tell you why I wouldn't have gone through. I'll tell you, I went through a little bit during a shoulder injury that I had 3 years ago. But during lockdown, I wouldn't say I went through a lot, but I went through a lot in terms of like development and like finding out what kind of person I was, if that makes sense. Whether before that, it's like, so I only would have been 16 during lockdown, which is crazy to think, like that's nearly 5 years ago, like, you know what I mean? But really kind of, I don't know, I would have said, I wouldn't have really known what kind of person I was.
If it wasn't for lockdown.
Yeah, no.
I think it's a make or break for a lot of people.
No, 100%. And it definitely, one thing I'll say about me, it definitely made me 100% because even like a lot of my friends, it was like sink or swim, if you know what I mean. And for a lot of other people, I know a lot of people who really kind of struggled over lockdown like that, didn't really know what to do, struggled with not socializing with people, because socializing with people, that's a big thing. Like that makes a huge difference. People don't really understand that until it's gone. And all of a sudden, just like the click of the fingers, all that was gone and you're only in the house with your family. Some people are just by themselves, you know what I mean? And it's just like, that's where you really kind of struggle with that lack of like, so like there's like, it's mad. Like it's like, I remember like sometimes you be in like a bit of bad humor, you mightn't feel the best in yourself. You have a conversation with someone and you're like, you know what, I actually feel a lot better after that, you know? But whether during lockdown there was, I would say there was very little outlets, you know, to get out or to get out whatever emotions you were feeling, whether that is training, whether that was going out to meet people, whatever the outlet is to kind of get things off your chest. And what lockdown really did was just isolate that. And then what happened was over periods of weeks and times,
Just froze.
it just froze. And then it's like, that's why I think a lot of people really kind of struggled. Now, like I knew that I would have fell into that category, but I suppose I found out about myself after the first 2 weeks of how frustrated and kind of upset I was. I was just like, okay, I need to go out and do something. So what I did was I was like texting me mate, Alex was like, here, do you just want to go on a cycle? He's like, where to? I'm like, I don't know. Let's just get out. Let's just get out on the bikes and just cycle somewhere. And man, like I say, every day on the bike, me and him might have done, I say, about 100 kilometers handy, like easily on the bike.
You're
And
16,
then,
man, just summer, it was about winter.
you know what I
well,
mean?
yeah,
and then what I would do was, me wrestling coach would do a Zoom call. And basically what we did was we went to him and met up and we got these wrestling bands. We do a whole session for like an hour and a half with these bands on a Zoom. You know what I mean? So straight away, I was just getting that serotonin again from going out and just doing things. You know what I mean? And I think the biggest struggle that I kind of had was I went over to the IMAF World Championships, and I basically, what happened was I dislocated my shoulder and tore my labrum in my shoulder, and I had my bicep tendon was frayed. So basically, when I got it operated on, like my surgeon Hannon Mullet, he said it was basically, he was like, it's the equivalent of your bicep tendon being hanging on by like a piece of dental floss. He said
fuck.
so he had to like re-tie it down, because basically what happens is
The left arm?
it was left, yeah. So it was keyhole surgery. And dude, I was out for close to 8-9 months with that. But that's when I really kind of found out who I was as a person, essentially, you know. The one thing that I do every single day, and that gives me that serotonin, that gave me that outlet, was just like taken away from me really, really quickly, you know. Now I suppose before I got the surgery, you know, I finished on a high. I, you know, won me 2 fights in the IMAFs, but I just had to pull out because it was just like I couldn't continue. So the IMAFs, how it works is it's five fights across 5 days, and
That's
basically
intense.
I had 2 fights, and after the 2 fights with the shoulder, I was just like, that's me. I was like, I just about won the second
Too
fight.
much.
It was just me shoulder. I just knew, like, I couldn't. It was really weird. I couldn't. In certain situations, certain grappling scenarios, the thing was like someone just got like a hammer and just banged me over the arm with it. The whole thing would just go dead, and I'd have absolutely like no power in it, like whatsoever. So just for the sake of me health, I think that's why I really just
Some
decided
people don't know that though. When's
know,
enough and not enough, you know?
And I only really kind of pulled out was because me wrestling coach was the one that kind of like suggested it to me, where he was just like, listen, he's like, I know you, and he's like, I know that's not right. So anyway, I remember we got an X-ray over in Abu Dhabi, and nothing came up, and I was like, that can't be right. Went home, got an MRI, and nothing came up in the MRI, and I was like, okay, happy days. So basically what they did was they got dye and they injected it into my shoulder, MRI, and it was just like clean tear the labrum. But like, I just remember in that period, I would have got the operation there for April of 2022, rolling into the summer. So what I did was, I was 18. So this is only like maybe 3-4 years ago. But what I was doing was I was just trying to fit in with like me friends from school or whatever like that, and just go do these things like festivals and stuff that I never really would have had any interest in doing.
So you enjoyed them, all right? Did you?
You know what I mean? Outward bleeding. That's all the lads used to call me, the one-handed bandit. I was just in a sling. I was just in a sling the whole time. But yeah. So basically, what happened was
What festivals did you go to?
What did I go to? I think I went to Longitude. I went to, what's the one up north? Emerge.
Emerge.
I think it might be Emerge.
So. I don't know.
Or there was one. I remember.
Boxed Off or something.
I think it was Boxed Off. Calvin Harris was playing at it or something like that. But I went to one festival up north. It's funny because this actually, guys, I'd never been to Longitude. I went to Longitude first time when I was 18, like, you know what I mean? But
I've never been to Longitude.
Like, you know what I mean?
I went to one festival one year, man. I think I was like 23. I'm 32 now.
Yeah, but
And I
like,
never went again.
but like that, I kind of like I never I smoked weed for the first time when I was 18. Never touched it like before that. Never had smoked it before that, and loved the feeling that it gave me. Like, loved the feeling that, and like that.
But it's legal in America.
You know what I
everything,
mean?
You know what I mean?
So it's like, but like that, I think too much of anything's bad for you. But like me, with my personality that I have,
all in or
nothing's in small amounts. So I start smoking really kind of frequently. I put a lot of weight on. I think I went up to like 83 kilos.
And what are you now?
Like 75.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, so I put on a lot of weight. And then all of a sudden, I was able to kind of ease back into me rehabilitation with my shoulder and stuff. And it was just like in the space of like...
What do you mean, smoking through the pain and stuff just to get over it, or
like,
just to be boredom? Or
tell you what it was. I think I never really deep why I was smoking.
I've done it as well now, so I understand what you mean.
So
yeah.
I think the reason why I smoked it was just to cope in the meantime. So my excuse was, I'll stop when I get back training. And then I remember when I started getting back training and was trying to stop smoking, it was like tough. Like it really was like just, like I would like, and then it's kind of like I was making all
dreams
these...
stop.
Exactly.
Then you cut down, then the dreams start coming back, you start getting the sweats and all.
Exactly. And then it was like, as well as that, I just remember like really struggling to sleep as well.
So what it does is actually stimulate your brain and stops your REM sleep.
Yeah.
So you're actually never recovering.
Yeah. So that was another thing. But I just remember through that kind of, that would have been April right up until September. And then it kind of, it just resonated with me where it was just like, right, you're going down one or kind of two roads here. Now, I know it was only a little kind of 4 or 5 month stint of doing it, but it just kind of taught me, as I said, who I kind of was as a person, in a way of, I know that if I enjoy any kind of thing like that it's never going to be something in gradual amounts. It's going to be full on. So basically what I did was I just got the head down and kind of like went ghost off socials a little bit, if you know what I mean. Just really just isolated myself to really just try get back into the routine of things. And I just remember when I first got back from training, I really came to the conclusion that I had a long way to like go just to get back to where I was. Like never mind like getting past.
If you've done that for 2-3 years, man, maybe you might not be doing what you're doing now.
You know what I mean?
You know, people don't see that.
And it was like, it was a real eye opener kind of for me in that way.
I think it's a fire born.
Yeah.
Inside, I think if you really, really wanted to be where you want to be now, you wouldn't have. You get me?
100%. And it was just, it was almost like, so obviously I had to work super hard to get me cardio good again.
The lungs coughing out, everything.
Exactly. And then also what happens as well, obviously when you get surgery on something, is like your muscle like shrinks, dude, because it's not active. So I remember taking my hand kind of out of sling after the first 3 months. Now I remember when I was doing the rehabilitation stuff and all, like I was still kind of like, I doubt I wasn't smoking as much, but I was still like smoking every now and then and stuff like that. And then just like that, I just had to, like, I knew I either had to go cold turkey on it or just like I wasn't going to stop doing it. Like, you know what I mean? Because I was like, I was trying to like gradually stop doing it. And then it was just like, the opportunities were like presenting itself too, because it's such a kind, it's a drug where like, I don't know, it wouldn't be looked down maybe as much upon, like, let's say the likes of cocaine or ecstasy, or maybe.
If you look at it now, cocaine is probably every 70%, 80 people are doing it in
yeah,
bars.
You know what I mean?
You're smoking weed, everyone's like, you know, oh, it's only a little bit of grass. But you know what? Everything has its poison.
Yeah.
Too much of everything. I'm not saying go do coke, man.
Yeah,
Fuck that. Like that.
Yeah.
I've seen people like, you know, be really fat, get really lean. Look class. 6 weeks later, they look sick.
Yeah.
With the weed thing, I was the exact same. I done counselling during COVID, or started COVID. I think I've done it for 5 years or 4 years.
Yeah.
And I was like, I used it as a coping mechanism. I tried to weed off it, but I couldn't stop, right?
Yeah.
Then she called me, an addict. And I was like, what?
And
I kind of went like that. Cut it out 3 days like that. 3 days and the shakes, and it was horrible.
Yeah.
And I don't, no, it's gone.
But that's, and that's like, that word, like, addict, I think, is a really, like, it's a powerful word.
It's a dig.
But it's like
a knife through you.
But when you do something as frequent as that, like, you're gonna have to class yourself as that if it's something that you're doing every day.
But mind you,
Yeah.
it was a 50 bag in 3 months or something.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So it wasn't really,
yeah.
do you know, but it was still like, I can't back away from it.
100%. I was definitely like I
Mate of mine used to go to Canada, he smoked an ounce a week.
Yeah, like,
And that's $75.
yeah, that is crazy. But like, I know like a lot of people that will that smoke it, if that makes sense, and they're still able to kind of go out about their day.
See, our
or whatever
brain
like
works
that.
differently.
You know,
You can't throw that in
But for me, if you throw something like that in, I'm not doing nothing.
No.
You know what I mean?
No, it's like the opposite effect.
Yeah, so it's like, I'm going to be super unproductive if I have that in my life. And then it was just kind of the thing of
The
where
thoughts.
it was like, it was exactly, and then it was like the worry of like, okay, it's almost like you're just like, it's always a week away. You're always a week away from stopping. That was like what it was kind of for me.
The next thing. But
And then-
sometimes lads actually can't do things without it.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So
Mm.
I just wanted to, so that was like a kind of like an addiction for a certain point in my life where I just had to kind of say to myself, Max, you cannot be smoking this stuff. So like, I was able to kind of go cold turkey on that, and I'm very fortunate that like I only kind of started at like a mature enough age,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Whether I know like a lot of lads kind of maybe in the surrounding area and myself that might have started smoking that stuff when they're like 14, 15
Never getting off it.
and they're never getting off it.
The brain's not developed
You know
now.
what I mean? It's like
Mm.
they're never getting off it because it's just always being a part. Whether with me, don't get me wrong, I loved how it like made me feel and stuff like that. But I was kind of mature enough to be like, okay, this is like a temporary feel though. It's like the thing that's going to make you feel better than this is you achieving your goals and what you want, what you've set out to do, if that makes sense.
But like, do you know what? Speaking from an older perspective, like,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? It's a great lesson.
Yeah.
You know
Huge
what?
lesson.
But you know now you can go in and out. Now, don't get me wrong, you don't ever go back on it
Yeah,
or whatever
yeah,
you do.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I mean, if later down the line, let's say, for example, I might get some fucking hate for saying this one now
Yeah.
as well. Conor McGregor,
Yeah, no, he's
Right.
another one, yeah.
you know, fantastic when he was growing up, but just got hooked on something.
Yeah,
You know?
and that might be a thing of like
He's going through shit.
no, and it's
You know?
like, and that might be a case like Connor, like Connor actually covered me. I'll always speak highly of him for like what he done for me. He paid for me and 27 other athletes to go away to the Cadet World Championships for
Mhm.
the IMAFs in 2021, and I think I was the only one to bring back a gold medal from that. You know.
There you
So,
go, Gremlins.
You know, so
Yeah.
like there's a lot of things like that you don't see about him, but I don't want to speak from like a perspective because I've obviously never gotten to the stage or level that he got to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But in regards to just, I think maybe a part of him wants to experience what he was never able to do as a professional athlete. Does that make sense?
Because you said you
But
cut off
because-
so much for something, and then one thing leads to another. And like you
Yes.
say, the brain works. You're all in or nothing.
Yes, and like Connor, I say he's very similar to me and you, where it's a case of he has an addictive personality. Because I remember like looking at him when he was kind of coming up in SBG Ireland. You know, I got to kind of see him come up and prepare for his fights, and he was always in the gym. And you know how training can get addictive. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
It's like
If you miss a day, you're like, fuck.
yeah, you know what I
You
mean?
know,
You
it's
get
like,
antsy and stuff like that.
mm.
And you could definitely see that in him, you know. But obviously, I'd wish him nothing
But the best. Of
you know what I
course,
mean?
man. Yeah,
Nothing
yeah,
but the
yeah,
best.
yeah.
But I just think, especially like in athletes or anyone that is that way inclined, it's like you don't like, because it only took me like once to like get just hooked. You know
Well,
what I mean?
said something to someone the other day. It was like, it's easy to get the throne. It's hard to hold the crown.
Yeah, no, definitely,
You
yeah.
can, you know what I mean? And you
No.
said you're going back to getting your, like, how do you say, your fitness back from
Yeah.
all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then building it back up was like miles away from where you were. And, you know, but then you know what you can do
And
now,
it's-
you know?
and as you said, it's a lesson where it's like, I know like what I need to be vigilant of. And I think this is actually the first time like on a podcast that like I've ever, like I've always kind of kept stuff like that like secret. But like, tell you what, I'll say one thing. That taught me more about myself than any other experience that I had ever. You know what I mean? Like it was a real just like turning point in learning who I am as a person and what I actually want to do with my life. You know what I mean?
But it's your car, you're driving it.
Exactly.
No one else can sit there and tell you what to do with your life, man. If you get something from a negative feeling or impact, right,
Yeah.
and bring it into a positive, you've learned so much more than anyone else that can sit there and like the talk about couch fans earlier on that
Yeah.
have never experienced it.
Yeah.
No one has an opinion to even judge you on that
100%.
because it's your fucking life.
No,
do you know?
100%.
You know? And at 21, man, as well.
Yeah.
Like there's people I know, friends and people I went to school with, man, that are still going on. They're lovely people,
Yeah.
but some of them are lost.
No, definitely,
mean?
definitely. And it's like,
It's not nice.
and
It's hard to watch.
it is very hard to
You know?
watch. It is very hard to watch because, but like that, it's like, as you said, it's like you're driving your own car. It's like, unfortunately, the way I kind of seen it's like, of course, I had like people kind of trying to like help me or try steer me away from it. But at the end of the day, it was me that really pulled me away from it. And unfortunately, someone can't get into your own car and drive it for you. There has to be a bit inside
But
you.
people can stick their hand into the window and try to turn the wheel a little bit, and
Exactly.
you're like, get away.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
You know what I
That's-
mean?
Yeah.
Exactly. And but it goes kind of back to that. I think that how I kind of managed to stop doing it was really just take myself out of the social setting of it and just be aware of it, because there's still a part of me that is almost kind of like still wants to do it.
So Elliot Holtz, you ever heard him? I think I might have said this on one of the other podcasts. It's like sometimes the most darkest emotions or thoughts or the darkest moments of your life are the greatest gifts you've been given.
100%.
Something like that.
Yeah.
That tarnish it and turn it into something. You know?
100%. Yeah.
You know? Maybe in the ring or the octagon or whatever, on the mats or whatever like that, you learn from your mistakes regardless. Oh, I'm not going to put my hand there again.
Exactly.
I'm not going to do that to get
Exactly.
slapped, you know?
No, 100%. And that's a big thing. It's like through martial arts, I've learned a lot of things about life, and it's really kind of changed my perspective on life in regards to like there's always things that you have to be vigilant for, and don't be too prideful to like correct them, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Because no one is perfect in what they do in the day-to-day life. You know what I mean? And it's like it's really refreshing to be able to do that to yourself. You know what I mean? Or even have others, you know, try guide you in the right way, in a positive way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. It's funny you say that. I just got a flashback in my head there. You're talking about the fighting and all.
Yeah.
It was like I was third brown in Shotokan.
Yeah.
I got my third brown, but I never went for my Dan because I let my ego get to me.
Yeah.
Because we were on the Ireland squad in Dorset Street in the old, it's an old abandoned fire station where the Ireland squad used to be.
Yeah.
And we were doing a grading, and there was like 30 people in the grading. I think it was like 180 for the grading.
Yeah.
And I won't say your man's name on this. He said
Yeah.
that everyone was shite, you had to do it again. He was on a social welfare man. He wanted everyone to 30 people multiplied by 180 quid.
Wow.
And I was like, what? And one of the other lads now, Anto Clark, which was a sensei, but he's dead now.
Yeah.
But he was, I'll grade him. I never went back. That's why I joined boxing.
Yeah.
But I let my ego get to me and never got me back.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
just,
And it's like, and don't get me wrong, it's like even in the like as a kid, especially like I would say during my teenage years, I was extremely cocky and extremely, I don't know, prideful, because I suppose I got to a stage of doing jiu-jitsu where I was at a good level, but I really thought I was a lot better than I was. But I find now I'm at a stage where I'm doing jiu-jitsu now nearly 12, 13 years. You know what I mean? I'm a brown belt in jiu-jitsu.
nice.
And like that, it's like I'm doing it too long to be like that. I'm too long to be, I don't know, going with lads that want to try hurt me or injure me or whatever like that.
Yes.
It's like I want to train with guys and I want to roll with guys and compete with guys that are gonna just make me better as an athlete. You know what I mean?
I think the belt just goes then.
Yeah.
You don't need any. You know what I mean?
And it's like, don't get me wrong, like as a kid, I've photos of me as a kid when I was like 9 doing my first jiu-jitsu competition. And I just remember like I was on like third place of a podium in like a 3-man bracket. Like I got submitted really quick. And I just remember saying to myself, I have to stop this. I'm never gonna get me black belt. But looking in perspective, don't get me wrong, I think that like I'm like people might disagree with me when they say this, because like there's a saying in jiu-jitsu like, oh, you're a sandbagger, and people will call me a sandbagger. They're
What's
like,
that, mate? You're just flat to the floor.
well,
like?
no, like a sandbagger is in like you're not the belt that you are. So like a lot of people might maybe think
right.
like, so when I was a blue belt, people were like, you should be a purple belt, and when I was a purple belt, people were like, you should be a brown belt. You know what I mean?
So you're one step above you.
But I was never the belts never. The belts isn't what like sucked me into the sport. It was the sport. You know what I mean? It was the sport in general. It's
you
a
can
really
argue about that. There's clubs that just give belts out for money. Like,
you know what I mean?
Like,
And I know, like a jiu-jitsu black belt will definitely be one of my greatest achievements. Like whenever I do get it, you know what I mean? But at the same time, I'm in absolutely no rush to. You know what I mean?
What do you have to do to get it?
Years on the mat, essentially.
That's
it's
experience.
It's years on the mat. Especially if you want to be like a good black belt that like competes regularly. Like I'd say, let's say the typical person like myself might take maybe 10 plus years before you get your black belt in jiu-jitsu. That's why it's a bit different to, let's say, karate or I don't know, kickboxing or whatever like that. It's maybe a black belt. I'm not sure like how long it takes to get like a black belt in karate or kickboxing or anything like that.
On the club.
You know what I mean? So it's like I wouldn't know the figures on that, but what I do know is I do know it takes a hell of a lot longer to get it in jiu-jitsu. You know what I mean? But I always remember like as a kid, like I've been graded by me coach Owen for a very long time. You know what I mean? And I know Owen only ever gives a belt out to someone when he knows they're at that level. You know what I mean?
This is the martial arts world. There's only a couple of people in it left that I think I do like that. You know what I mean?
So it's like I know whenever that does get presented to me, if he thinks I'm ready for it, I know I'm ready for it. You know what I mean? And I think the biggest thing as well with the whole kind of jiu-jitsu, MMA, I think it applies to everything, where it's just like, instead of like being so worried when you get to that final destination, just enjoying the journey to it more than anything. And I think that's what I've really kind of taken in over the past 3-4 years.
But you put things on a pedestal, man. It's just,
exactly.
It's
and just every now and then, it's no harm to look back and just kind of say to yourself, listen, well done for how far you were after coming.
100%,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you know, it's whatever you may be doing, you know, it takes time to get to these kind of goals, and takes time to get to these little kind of achievements that you kind of set out for yourself. You know what I mean?
Well, so, what made you start fighting in the first place? If you could say if it was a particular moment that you could capture now, what made you fight or want to do fighting or want to be involved?
Tell you what, and I think unbeknownst to myself, it's going back to that personality that I have of just being like really addicted to certain things. So I would have played a lot of sports when I was younger, like probably any kid, like rugby, GAA, football being the main three, let's say.
It's always football, isn't it?
I done a bit of taekwondo when I was younger for a little bit, but that didn't really.
I didn't think you'd be one of them, man. Yeah. How did that go? No.
I think I got my yellow belt and I stopped. It just didn't really. It wasn't really for me. I suppose I was always kind of looking for a bit more.
Yeah.
So I was like, when I played football, I was a keeper. So I loved running out me boxing and stuck into someone. Like, you know what I mean? Like I loved it. Like there was nothing more that I loved to do. And then I kind of came across jiu-jitsu, and like that, it was just like, I just liked it. You know what I mean? I was always into your home. I was always into like WWE and stuff. And then I was like, here, this is the submissions that they do in this, but you're actually allowed to try break their arms and all. I was like, this is deadly. So that's what kind of got me in. Now, I had absolutely no aspirations to fight MMA right up until lockdown. I've started MMA. I used to tip around. I used to do like dabble in a bit of boxing, or like I dabbled in a bit of stand-up. It would never be consistent. It might be something for maybe 3-4 weeks, and I'd stop for a few weeks and I'd just go back to grappling. And I do it. But I literally just wrestled into jiu-jitsu right up until I say it was like 17. And then when I was kind of 17, I went down the MMA route, started training for MMA then.
All right, so you had a good foundation going in,
I had
regardless.
I had a
of-
good
yeah,
foundation
yeah, yeah.
going in. I did, but
Yeah.
it was just as I was older. I never kind of, I suppose, as a teenager, like especially when you're like 14, 15, 16, like you don't really know what you want to do. You
I
know what
say
I
at
mean?
25, man, you'll have everything mapped out.
You know what I mean?
That's
That's
the
the reality
year I
of it.
remember
That's the
that
reality.
I gone everything like.
That's the reality of it, and it's just like there's not. I don't like people, especially like schools and stuff like that. Like they do try to guide you in the right direction. You know what I mean? But it's like outside of the
The education system isn't the best.
You know what I mean?
Once you say you fail that, like with the say ADHD, it's not designed for you for us particularly, because when you have something, I think they told me not to do art, they told me to do business. I wanted to do a language, they told me to do engineering.
Yeah.
I was like, so they're making decisions for you, rather than you doing it yourself.
Exactly. You know what I mean? And it's like, but at the same time, then it's like, how does, I don't know, like a 17-year-old kid knows what they want to go and do in college and then do for the rest of their life? I just think it's super unrealistic.
Say it takes you 10 years to make money back off a 5-year degree.
You know what I mean? But it's like, and as well as that, it's like, no, I just find no one in their teenage years really knows what they want to do.
That's
And
why
it's
they
like,
get you to make the decision.
exactly. You know what I mean? But it's like, mate, like for me as well, I knew I wanted to kind of do jiu-jitsu and stuff like that. Now, I think since I've gone into MMA, there's like a lot more opportunities to make money in jiu-jitsu now. But I kind of went into MMA because I was like, this is the closest thing to grappling and jiu-jitsu that I enjoy doing, that I can hopefully maybe make a career out of, And that's what kind of persuaded me to go for. And then obviously I set myself out a little checklist of goals of what I wanted to hit. I wanted to have at least 3 regional titles. I think I ended up getting 4. And then obviously I set out a little map for myself of how many amateur fights I wanted to have, and then when I'd want to make me pro debut, and obviously I mapped out little promotions that I'd want to sign to before UFC and stuff. At the time, Cage Warriors was a bit unrealistic because they had I think they had previous run-ins with the SBG gyms. I think it was between the promoter Graham Boylan and John, and I think what happened was they made up for it and they accepted it. And Graham I think came out and said he's like, he wants to see the new wave of Irish talent coming through. And then like my coach Owen had fought for Cage Warriors, and it just was a move from myself that like just made sense, I had a teammate that signed, Conor McCarthy, as well, that signed to them, and it was just a move that made sense, and I was just like over the moon to sign with them. But like that, them little goals that I set out for myself, I only looked back at them there. I think it was last December, and I was checking them all off, because I think everyone always kind of has that end goal, but it's like
it's never ending.
It's never ending. You know what I mean?
Just
It's like that it's like that end goal is always going to be your perfect scenario. But like I said, no one's perfect and everyone's chasing perfection. But you never get there.
Go as planned.
Nothing is ever going to go as planned. Nothing's ever a straight road in life. It's always going to have its twists and turns. But I think going back to that whole thing of what I was saying like previously, of when you just do hard things and put yourself through trials and tribulations of difficult stuff, I think these twists and turns in the road become a little easier to adapt with and to deal with,
Of course, yeah, 100%. And then you said you're 11 weeks out.
I'm 11 weeks out.
So give us a breakdown of what you do on a day to day. So if you wake up in the morning, what are you doing? So let's say 3 days in a row.
So 3 days in a row. So usually what I always set out for myself,
waking up in the morning,
because the training, waking up in the morning, usually, so my training I would say is very sporadic, in a sense where it's like I always have a goal. Every day I train, I must do a minimum of 4 hours every day. That's the minimum. But that's like the least amount of training I'll do, and like that'd be like 4 hours for me in a day would be like a chill out day. I'll always try hit at least, like even like today I done 2 sessions this morning. I done pads and I done strength and conditioning, and now later on I'll go over to Nace and I'll wrestle. So for me now that'll be at least 4 hours done today. that'd be a slow day. Because sometimes what happens is it's like the training mixes up. Like some days I might do strength and conditioning on a Monday and Wednesday. And then
Okay.
depending on me, strength and conditioning coach might suit him next week to do it Monday, Wednesday. He might do like a Tuesday, Thursday, or whatever it may be. You know
So
what I mean?
it's never really
It's never really set. But going back to the whole thing of being adaptable is I'll always have something organised and I'll always have some training to do.
That's cool though. You can look forward to it.
Whether
Then.
that's going down to like East Coast on a Thursday morning, whether that's going up to Padman Mac on a Tuesday morning to hit pads with him.
That's down in Crumlin.
No, I go down to Houlihan Martial Arts. He meets me
Oh,
out.
right, okay.
That's closer to his house. So I go down there and I hit pads with him down there. And then also like I'm always just trying to get that 4 hours all the time. Every single day. It's like super important to me, especially since I've left work, you know what I mean? And then in that midday, like obviously diet is super important. I would have said about 2 years ago, I definitely like would have had an eating disorder, like 110% from doing the weight cuts I used to do. I'd like restrict myself from like the foods I liked and stuff like that. And then like after I'd make weight, I might be maybe 7-8 kilos heavier than I was like the previous week, like ridiculous stuff. But I've learned how to kind of manage that and just keep myself on a good clean diet out of camp, you know, still enjoying the foods that I enjoy to eat.
Yeah, it's just about
you know
tracking
what I
them
mean?
right and stuff.
Exactly. Like anything, I think it's like when you first start doing anything, you know, when I start cutting the weight and all for the first time, it's just over time, the more you do it, just the better you get it. And that just applies to
Like what you
absolutely
said, doing the
everything you
hard
do.
things, man. Just drop them down slowly, then hit the nail down,
Exactly.
the hammer down,
No,
drop the hammer.
100%. But yeah, so out of camp, I really, as I said before, I really focus on skill acquisition. So I'm trying to train with these specialists all the time and trying to really pick and choose. But when I go into fight camp, the two goals is to get that killer instinct up to the maximum and just get the fitness up to the maximum. That's the only two things I focus on.
Less walk during
It's
camp
less.
then because
It's
you're always already.
it's actually so. I actually lessen the load of training in camp. I lessen the load of training and up the intensity by tenfold. So it's like it goes back to that whole thing. It's like some fighters out of camp won't really train as much out of camp, and they'll train loads when they're in fights. But like my whole kind of belief system around that is like, how are you supposed to get good at something, you know, when you're not doing it? Like it's because out of camp you're focusing on weight, you're focusing on fitness. You can't focus on like working. Like you're not going to work techniques like 8 weeks out, 10 weeks out from a fight and then just start maybe hitting them in a fight. It's something that has to be drilled over and over. That has to
I
be
said it to someone
implemented.
before. It's a
Yeah,
lifestyle.
it's a lifestyle.
You need to
Like
live
it's
it.
like for me when I'm adding new weapons to the arsenal, there's a whole process behind it where I'll start hitting it on pads. I'll start implementing it into me sparring, and then I'll start implementing it against the guys who aren't really as good as me first, you know, the kind of guys who might, I wouldn't say beginners, but like the intermediate kind of guys who've been doing it long enough that they know kind of what to do, but there still is a skill discrepancy there
Right.
in level. And then what I'll start to do is I'll start to try hit it then against the good guys, you know what I mean? And only when I start hitting it consistently against the good guys, I'm like, okay, this is a weapon that's now being
There's
added.
nothing better than you when you perfect something.
You know what I mean?
And it lands and you're like, what?
And then it's just like you
Yeah.
rinse and repeat the process over and then like, you know what I mean? But it's like, you're not doing that. I don't care like who you are. You're not doing that in camp. You know what I mean? Like when you're in camp is getting fight ready. Conditioning.
Yeah.
That's what it is. You're
And getting through and not getting injured and just
Exactly.
making sure you're sharp and
like you could call it like you're just preparing for battle, more or less. Whether it's like out of camp, you're sharpening your sword. You know what I mean? That's how I've always looked at it. You know what I mean? And I just think it's super important out of camp. Like for myself, I'm not like I don't know like what other pro fighters how they may approach it out of camp, but that's how I've always done it. You know, always. And I think it definitely has stood to me so far. You know what I mean?
Nice
so
one.
I'll continue to do it. You know.
yeah, happy days. So yeah, you have and you're what, 11 weeks out. Is there anything you want to say to your opponent?
I actually don't have an opponent yet, but whoever it is, I wish you the best of luck.
There
That's,
you go,
that's
man.
it. Like, you know what I mean?
So now I had a surprise, man, but it didn't arrive, man. I actually was gonna get the hot chip challenge thing, and it never
Oh, shit.
arrived. Yeah,
Oh, man, that would have been gas, man.
I think, yeah, I was gonna say it to you at the start, but
Yeah.
it's like, I'll just say it for the next person that comes on,
Yeah,
they're
good
gonna
luck,
get
yeah.
it. Yeah, but no, I had two of them ordered and all like that. But, you know,
gas.
yeah. But
gas.
how did you find today? How did you get on? What do you think?
Of the podcast.
The whole thing. How'd your experience?
100%. It's been
Yeah.
a great experience. Dude,
You
a
know?
great chat. Great to have
Yeah.
an insight to you as a person as well. You know what I
this
mean?
is more, this is about you, this
Yeah,
show. You know what I
but-
mean?
but-
Getting everything
But
going.
even though I love I love that, but hopefully like after this it just gave you and anyone watching just a bit more of an insight to me as a fighter, you know. Usually with fighters, and I suppose any kind of professional athletes, that looked at these like machines, and
People.
we're people, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're people. Obviously fighting is a big part of what I do, but it isn't absolutely everything to me. It's a pastime. It's like you doing the podcast, or it's like, you know what I mean?
You need to
This is-
detach yourself away from the
Exactly.
It's an identity thing.
It's
you
an
know what I mean?
identity thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's like I have so many other hobbies like outside of fighting, you know what I mean? I'd kind of look at fighting as a job I really enjoy doing. You know what I mean? It's something I really enjoy doing. It's a big part of me, but it isn't everything. You know what I mean? And I think that's like the most important thing. If I could maybe give these people like an insight to who I am, and I don't know, almost humanize myself a bit more, I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah,
You know?
and you talked about mental health and how you went through things and all that
Ah, yeah,
jazz.
no,
you know how you
100%.
weren't. You know how you're normal. You
Yeah.
know you're normal
No,
as everyone
definitely.
else. You know.
Definitely.
And if you were to say something to somebody, like say someone that was in your shoes at that time, what would you say to make things better for them?
Make
What would
things-
you say? Like, you know?
Oh, what would I say to someone that's like struggling? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a positive. Yeah.
Definitely. So, like, what I'd say to anyone struggling is like, definitely, you're not going to be the only one that is, and it's like, make sure that you reach out for help, and that you, you know, if help's needed, definitely speak out about it. You know what I mean? It's like, I think there's a whole kind of like a stigma where it's like no one will want to listen to you or won't want to listen to your problems or whatever like that. But it's like, I think you are loved by your
Yeah.
family, by your friends, you know what I mean? And I know for a fact, any of my friends who are ever struggling like that, would always be there for you in turn, like your friends or family would be, you know what I mean? So I think definitely
Men's mental health is a big thing.
it is
you
a
know?
big thing, 100%. And I think I definitely think speaking out is definitely the way forward, and is definitely the way to make things a little bit better. It's always better out than in, you know. So
100%. Everyone would rather have you here than miss a phone call. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
And go and visit you at your funeral or
exactly,
whatever.
exactly.
You know, just have to bite the bullet, and the next day it'll be hard, and the next day it'll be
Yeah.
hard, but one day you'll see the light on it.
100%.
You know?
It's like as people, we are not perfect by any means. You know what I mean? And I think that, you know, we all kind of have this stereotype in our head of what we're supposed to be like as people. You know what I mean? But in the reality of it, a lot of men, a lot of people in general that do suffer with mental health are vulnerable people. But it's like everyone else is as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like maybe just as hard as it is to kind of, you know, with your pride and everything like that, as hard as it is to might speak out, I couldn't recommend it anymore, dude. You know what I mean? It's like it's
That's why I started doing this podcast.
know?
You know, ever since I started doing it, people are like, oh, fair play. Getting mates, got a mate that texted me that his dad got shot a few years ago, and now that's a different story. That'd be on the next one.
yeah,
You know what I mean? But he lost his dad, and he went through addiction and all that, and it really touched him and like helped
Yeah.
a few people, because mental health goes in everybody,
It
not
does.
just myself from my
Yeah.
first episode. Do you know what I mean?
no,
But
100%,
it does touch, you know,
definitely.
really, really hard. Like, you know, and people need to normalize it, and you know, I think it's a part of us,
It is a part of
regardless.
us,
You know,
and it's like it's. I know. With mental health and stuff like that, I know it'll definitely always kind of be a part of me, especially with what I do. You know what I mean? Because it's always going to be highs and lows and trials and tribulations and stuff like that. You know what I mean? But I'm definitely more aware of it in regards to, as you said, it's in absolutely everyone. You know what I mean? And I just think the more you keep it to yourself, the more you struggle with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it's
It's like we're talking about social media. Everyone comes out, right? If you stay, so the thing is now, no one knows who we are, right?
yeah,
No one will know who we are if we don't put ourselves out there.
100%.
And this message goes out there, all the gremlins, the haters.
Yeah,
Fuck off.
100%.
We don't give a fuck.
We don't, man. We don't.
Keep commenting.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
100%.
But yeah, would you like to say one last thing before we finish, man? It's
Just-
been great having you today.
No, really appreciate it. If anything, if I want to say anything, I think that definitely the big thing is, you know, go out and try seek discomfort, you know. 'Cause, as I said, I have my little belief, and maybe this belief will work for you. But, you know, if you go out and seek discomfort, you know, life just becomes easier, you know, in whatever that might be, you know, whether
Comfort
that's
is the
training.
enemy of success.
It is, you know what I mean? And definitely for my head, doing all these kind of difficult things with training and stuff like that has definitely given me a different perspective now on when shit hits the fan. I definitely cope with it a lot better. So I definitely suggest that whether that's a high rock session, some horrible 100k run or whatever like that, I definitely recommend someone to do one thing super difficult like that in their life. You
Nice
know,
one.
one super difficult thing, you know, something that you might be dreading to do, dive in and just try it head first. And I promise you everything else becomes easier, you know. So
Nice one.
best of luck, boys.
Happy day as well. Thanks everyone for tuning in to this episode, Tommy Talks podcast with Max.
Yes.
Anyone doesn't know me, my name is Tommy Buckley. I'm a personal trainer and mental health advocate, just here to help and train people regardless, you know, what your situation is. But anyone is more than welcome to jump on if they have a story to tell. Do you know what I mean?
100%.
All right?
100%.
Nice one. Good man, Max.
Legend,
Deadly.
brother. Thank you, bro.